Physical education, what is it? Why should my child participate and what knowledge will they gain? These are all common questions. Here is why you should do physical education.
Health authorities recommend children get at least 60 minutes of moderate to vigorous physical activity daily. Most children do not get enough, and sedentary living is one of the most challenging public health problems. Physical inactivity is the fourth leading cause of death, and sedentary children are at risk for overweight, obesity, and other chronic diseases. Meanwhile, children are in school for over 6 hours a day, 9 months a year for 13 years, and most of this time they are forced to sit. Research is showing that physical education programs are essential in helping children accrue physical activity minutes. Physical education promotes health, active lifestyles, and increases physical fitness, and teaches important movement and behavioral skills. There is also growing evidence that physical activity helps children be attentive during class and improve academically.
So what does this mean for my child, you might ask? And how will they gain knowledge and learn through physical activity? Let me explain. According to Shiro, knowledge enters the scene because it is an inevitable byproduct of learning and thus of growth. It results from individuals making meaning out of their experiences. But how much of what we learn is actually retained? Studies have shown the amount of information the brain receives and retains varies depending on the way it has been implemented and taught. 75% is remembered by practice by doing. 90% is by teaching others the immediate use of your learning. Physical activity is the perfect example of retaining information as students create, model, and perform skills, movements, and concepts. Students should be encouraged to have a positive mindset towards learning, as the mind, perceptions, and attitudes all affect the knowledge that students retain. Some studies have suggested that the practical knowledge that comes from health and physical education are not limited to, but include the following: knowing by doing correct skills and movements, knowing by trying, knowing by imitating, knowing by creating, knowing by teamwork and cooperation. All these different categories represent how knowledge is produced and then reproduced through practice. The implemented curriculum includes content areas and general objectives. These interrelate to combine knowledge and understanding. Teachers should plan around curriculum and modify to suit each individual learner. There are 3 main focus areas in senior health and physical education. They consist of learning physical skills, process and effects of training and exercise, and thirdly, equity and access to sport and physical activity in Australian society. Biomechanics of the body, such as force and motion, are studied in the subject. As with psychology, arousal, performance, motivation, and the way the body functions is also studied. Healthy living is highly promoted in HPE through effective food choices, along with personal development, energy systems, training methods, and the components of fitness are all studied. Health and physical education is a vital part of the Australian curriculum. The curriculum claims that the study of movement has a broad and established scientific, social, cultural, and historical knowledge base, informing our understanding of how and why we move and how we can improve physical performance. This knowledge can be learnt in both movement and classroom context. Students will reflect on the cultural impacts of sport and physical activity within Australia. They will do this through an in-depth look of Figueroa's framework that examines the factors that affect access and equity in sport. The 3 main general objectives, according to the Queensland Studies Authority, are acquiring, applying, and evaluating. All students will be able to achieve these by the end of the course. Acquiring is the retrieval and comprehension of information and the reproduction of physical responses. Applying is the application of the acquired information. And finally, students will be able to evaluate using knowledge previously learnt in acquiring and applying. They will use this to make decisions, conclusions, solve problems, justify, and reflect. The curriculum that is implemented within HPE includes content areas and general objectives. These interrelate to combine knowledge and understanding. Teachers should effectively plan around curriculum and modify to suit each individual learner. That way, the correct and most effective knowledge will be produced.